You're gonna absolutely love what I'm gonna show you today. This is not a magic trick. It's actually a technique that you're gonna use for many magic tricks. So as you can see, I have a deck that's in brand new deck order. So it's got the ace through the king of hearts and then clubs, diamonds, and spades, right? Perfect new deck order. Now, any magician or card cheat would love the ability to control an entire deck of cards. And that's what I'm gonna teach you today. So let's start by getting these cards nice and mixed up. Give them a couple of cuts already. We'll give them a good shuffle. A few more cuts. Maybe we'll give it one fancy cut. All right. Now the deck is pretty mixed up, right? But if you look closely, you'll see that I haven't changed a single card in the entire deck. So what you just saw was a combination of a bunch of techniques, and honestly, you could use any one of them in a card routine if you're trying to make it look like the cards are mixed up. The first one that I did, let me show you how it works. So you hold the cards between your thumb and your middle finger like this. And you're gonna use your pointer to take off about a third of the deck, all right? And you're gonna swivel it over and catch it between your thumb and your pointer right here, like that, all right? So that's the first part. See, it's one. Second one, you pass the bottom back as you put the middle here, spin this around on top, and you drop it back on top. Now that looks confusing, but it's really, all you're doing is taking the top, middle, and bottom and putting them right back in the top, middle, and bottom. So let me do it a little slower here. So it's like this. And the second one goes, everything goes over the top. You're passing this part in here, and with this finger and your thumb, you're grabbing the bottom, pulling it back. And then with this thumb, you're just gonna rotate this on top, and then drop this right back on top. 1, 2, and then 3. All right, the second cut that I did, this is very, very simple, and it looks pretty convincing. That's what it looks like. And basically all it is you're gonna hold the deck between your middle finger and your thumb. You're gonna reach over, but normally what you do when you cut is you take the top part of the deck and you put it down, and then you put the rest on top. And that's what people are used to seeing. So that's what they assume you're doing. But really what you're doing is you're taking the bottom half of the deck, and you're putting it down, and then you're putting the top right back on top. I mean, it's that silly, right? But if I did it just like that, you'd notice. It'd be so obvious. So you have this little convincer move where you take the bottom and you straighten the cards up like that. You just pat them against each other, and then you put it down, and then you drop it. And for whatever reason, that makes it look like a regular cut. All right, the next move, this is a little more complicated. It's gonna take some practice, but it's called the Zorro Shuffle. What it looks like first is cut the deck in half, you shuffle the cards pretty cleanly into each other, and then when you look, they're actually not mixed up at all. We didn't do any shuffle. So what I actually did is, when you split the deck, you're not just cutting the deck in half, you're taking, with your pointer, you're gonna hold the top card, and then you're gonna pull a chunk out, so like this. So it's gonna go like that. So really, if I was gonna put this deck back in order, I would have to lift this top card up, put these back, and then put that back, and they'd be back in regular order. So when I go like this to split the deck, it looks like I just took it in half, but I really slid out like that and put it down. I separate them. Now what I have is the top card, the middle of the deck, and then the bottom of the deck. Now you actually do shuffle them into each other like this, but when you get to the last card, you hold this one back, and you take the last 5 or 6 of this hand and you push them in like that. All right, so it looks like it's a mess right now, right? But what's actually gonna happen is as you tilt the cards in this way, you're gonna uninterlock them, and you're just gonna push them all back on top where they were to begin with. Let me try to show it to you a little slower. All right, so I separate the deck. You understand how I did that, right? I shuffle them into each other. I hold back this last card and I push these in so it looks confusing. And then when I straighten them out, they separate themselves from each other. And then I'm just gonna push these back up and back into their original position. The next cut that I did was this. And this one's a good one because it's really easy to do. It looks convincing, but it's really not much. So all I'm doing is when I take the first chunk of the cards, about a third, I put it like this, and I just keep a break with my thumb here. So I just keep a hole there, and then the next batch I pull is from here, and I put that on top, still keeping this break, and then I grab the rest of the deck, and I put that back on top. So really all I did was I took this batch, and then I took the middle batch, put that on top, and then I take this batch and put it on top, putting the cards right back to the original order. So it looks like this, but you know, from the front, they were not going to notice that. Even somebody behind you wouldn't even notice that you're doing this. So it looks pretty clean. And the final cut that I did, this one looks fancy, and it's pretty easy to do, is that, because it looks kind of messy, but I'm doing the same thing again. I'm taking the bottom third of the deck, I'm putting it on top of the deck, but I'm not going to actually let it fall. I'm going to grab the middle with my thumb and middle finger there, and then I'm quickly going to let the top part drop while I separate these two hands. So, like that. Oop, I missed a card. Like that. And then you just put them back in the regular order. It's the same order they were in to begin with, because this is the bottom. So I let the bottom drop back to the bottom, and I put the middle back in the middle, and the top back on top.